Good evening, everyone. This is Lacy Johnson. I've been gone for the summer. I've talked to you about some of the reasons that has happened. It was unplanned, by the way, but this is our first interview since I went through my summer ordeal. Actually, I call it ordeal, but actually, it was a wonderful, amazing spiritual journey that I went on, and I've told you about that. But once again, welcome my first guest, Mr. Matt Birk. Hey, good morning, Matt. How you doing?
I'm great, Lacy. How are you?
Okay. Hey, I can't see the logo on your cap. What does that logo says? Should
Oh,
I?
this one of my best friends who just had an amazing, kind of went through sort of something that you went through, Lacy. He's from Arkansas, from Russellville, Arkansas, and he brought me back this hat from Russellville, Arkansas. So I'm in the office today. I'm wearing it for him. He's my business partner and my best friend.
Okay, and you probably got surprised by that question, as I often do when I wear different caps. I forget I have them on, and people are always asking me about them. And just another FYI, in spite of my ordeal this past summer, I decided to drive down to Natchez, Mississippi for my 50th high school reunion. And we passed through Arkansas, and I'm trying to remember whether or not I saw Russellville somewhere. But we decided to stay overnight in Little Rock and had a great time. I just love the South. I don't know whether you've spent much time down there, but
yeah, he's from Arkansas. One of my other employees is from Biloxi. So
okay,
it's cool. When you're born and raised in the North, going to the South, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yes, it is. Well, a lot of people have the wrong impression of the South. They think it's just a bunch of backwards people and unintelligent, but it's just such a great place. Okay, let's start with you, Matt. I've been following, of course, I've been following the Vikings as a sports fan since I was young, but I followed your career, knew a little bit about you. So let's just dive into it. You've achieved a lot of good things in life. You're courageous. You're a man of principles. All the things that I try to be. So we should have a good time here. But let's start off. I understand you were born in St. Paul, Minnesota, attended Cretin-Durham High. Now, I think Cretin-Durham High is a private school here, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a private Catholic school in St. Paul. Been around for 100 and some years. Yep.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about your family growing up and the influence your parents might have had, and establishing certain values and career and habits and things that led to your success.
Sure. No, I grew up. My mom grew up on a farm. My dad grew up on the east side of St. Paul, and they settled in the McAllister Groveland neighborhood. Back then, it was just very working class families. My dad delivered newspapers. My mom worked at a nursing home. And I always say I was extremely blessed because I was born to two parents who had great work ethic. And so, being a kid and seeing that, so hard work was important. Certainly faith was important. They always sent me and my brothers, found a way to send us to Catholic school. So ever since I can remember, I knew who Jesus was, and I knew what he did for me, and I knew what he expects of me. And it was just kind of a great play. The 80s, I tell people, St. Paul in the 80s, man, it was the best. Like, it was safe. There's tons of families, tons of kids running around outside. And certainly was had a huge part of being who I am today. And to go away to college, but to come back and to be able to play for the Minnesota Vikings and represent them for 11 years was an incredible honor. When you do that too, when you play for the Vikings, you obviously have a pretty big platform. And so my wife and I started our nonprofit in 2002, always focused around education, trying to help kids primarily in the inner city, help them through those key educational transition points. And, I had to leave for a little bit. I wanted to win a Super Bowl. I didn't think it was going to happen here. So I had to go away, and I accomplished that. Good that we accomplished it, bad that it wasn't here. But, my wife and I have lived back here for about 6 years now, and she's from here. I'm from here, and just some about Minnesota.
Yeah, you mentioned quite a few things there. First of all, I thought about it. How was it to win a Super Bowl for another team besides the Vikings? I would assume on the one hand, you felt very blessed and thankful for it, but on the other hand, it might have been a little cherry on the top if you had won it for the Viking. So,
Well, I mean, hey, I'm not complaining because I got to win a Super Bowl. A lot of guys, a lot better players than me, played a long time, never got that opportunity. It's a special thing to be a part of because, rarely do you as an individual or any, a team or a group that you're associated with get to accomplish something like that, right? Like there's just not a lot of days like that in life. So it was special. It was a special group of guys, John Harbaugh, the head coach, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, Joe Flacco, Ray Rice, just an amazing bunch of guys. And so that was great. But yeah, if I could, I mean, not taking anything away from the beautiful city of Baltimore, but had I won it here with the Vikings, I'd never have to pay for a beer the rest of my life.
I understand that. Now, you ended up going to Harvard. I think you majored in economics. That means that you were pretty brainy, and I don't expect for you, being the humble guy you are, to go along with that description, but you had to have a certain amount of aptitude and intelligence to attend Harvard. And I think I read somewhere where you scored the highest on whatever these smart tests the NFL gives. What's the name of that smart test they give?
It's a smart test called the Wonderlic test.
Yeah, they just scored pretty high on that. And I think I read somewhere that you might have been the greatest Ivy League player ever. I think I heard somewhere. But tell us about the whole Harvard experience and how you ended up at Harvard.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me first of all, I was just kind of built for the education system. I guess memorization is real easy for me. I don't think I have a photographic memory, but it's probably pretty close. So, back then when I went to school, that was like the thing. If you could memorize and regurgitate stuff, you're built for school.
Right.
And so, just very fortunate. But I also had parents that, stressed that like it was, I mean, we loved sports. I have two brothers, younger, but we're real close in age, and we love sports, but it was always school before sports. And, so I was applied myself, and then, tried everything growing up as far as sports wise, wasn't any good at anything. So then my 10th grade year, I tried football, and of course I'm not a great athlete. That's why they made me a lineman, because nobody chooses to play O-line, but kind of found my niche. And, there's something about it I really enjoyed. I enjoyed sort of the hand-to-hand combat, if you will, but I also enjoyed the part about lifting weights and eating a lot, getting as big and strong as you possibly can, for the 14, 15-year-old version of me, like that was what life was all about. Let me get as strong as I could get. And so I just loved the training part. And, if you love lifting heavy weights and you love eating and you take it seriously, you get bigger, stronger, then you become a better football player. Then you want to lift more weights. And so, but yeah, because I had the good grades, I got to go to Harvard, and same thing, just loved, you're not on scholarship at Harvard. So you're just doing it for the love of the game. But I loved it. I got to play football and go to school, and just kept getting bigger and stronger. And I was 21 years old when I graduated, and lo and behold, I was big enough and strong enough to go play in the NFL.
Well, a couple of things about your athletic prowess. I think you played more than football. You might even play basketball.
Well, I did, but I mean, I was like, yeah, listen, I mean, I like to tell people how good of a basketball player I was, but I was just, I wasn't that good. But just don't tell my kids that.
And then you were mentioning some things. I tell people I had a perfect childhood, and they always surprised when I tell them that. The people that raised me gave me a certain perspective on life, a certain perspective on the good and bad things that happen to you in life, certain perspective on the good and bad people you come across in life, and you just accept life for what it is. And looking back, you mentioned some things, just piggybacking on some things that you said about your childhood. I think the most important thing was it was built on a foundation of faith. I'm up front. The principle that guides my life, the religious principle that I was taught as a kid in reading the Bible and going to church. Second one is the Constitution. Third set of principle is the thing lesson my parents taught me, and a very, very small percentage it's the things I learned on my own in life, but that only accounts for a very small percentage. But the bottom line is that just a role of faith. You mentioned a two-parent family. Just two strong, great parents, man. I don't know how people, and I live in a tough neighborhood, and there's a lot of things that happen, and people are always coming up with these solutions to these problems, whether it's street violence or whatever. And I'm convinced that most of them are not going away until we put the family back together.
Yeah.
And I don't know what people are thinking. I don't understand how you deal with a lot of issues in life without a spiritual foundation. And I just know the role that my parents and the elders played as far as raising me. So all those are great things, the value that was set and just going to church. So I really identify with the importance of those things in life. And it seems like we, as a country, has forgotten where we came from. And that's explaining a lot of things that's going on here that's not going right. I really appreciate that. Now, Matt, you have a current family. Why don't you tell me about your current family and your wife and children, and what are they doing nowadays?
I do. I'm blessed. My wife and I have 8 children. Been married 20 years. And I love what you said, Lacy, a perfect childhood. We can always, as human nature, always focus on what we don't have, right? Or how people have it better. But boy, I tell you what, if you have 2 parents and they raise you in the church, and you're safe and you got, 3 meals most of the time and a roof over your head, that's a perfect childhood. You're right. But yeah, my wife and I, 8 kids, ages 20 to 6. Our last 2 boys, they're both 6 years old. They're adopted. They're not biological twins, but they're pretty close in age. And man, I don't know. It's a wild ride. Being a parent is obviously, I know everybody says that it's cliche, but probably learn more about life and myself and going through that. It's the hardest thing I probably ever had to do is raise 8 kids in this crazy world, and I'm nowhere near done. But we do know that we are blessed beyond measure, and big family. So always somebody's unhappy. There's always some drama going on, but it's all good, man. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, we have that in common. I had 8 sisters and brothers, so it was 9 of us. And I agree. I love great big families. My dream was to have a large family. Of course, they started letting us men go into the delivery room. And, I don't think I was capable of going through it. I got 2 children now, 2 sons. I don't think I was capable of going through that 6 more times. I can't say that to my wife, though, because she did all the heavy lifting. And you also mentioned just the blessing of being a parent of 8 children. The other thing I should point out, and we talk about the perfect childhood, I tell people the spiritual foundation, the 2 parents, a great family, all that came into play. But I also had some great music, Matt, and we ate great food, and just the culture was great. And I once asked my dad, because, up until the 4th grade, I think it was 9 of us in a 3-room house. I once asked my dad how much money was he making during that time when we were in the smaller house. Him and then my mom. He said about $50 a week. And so the great thing about that experience, and I tell a lot of people, I don't tie joy and happiness to money. Mm-hmm. And I think that allows me to be free and not sell myself out in a lot of cases. So that was a blessing. Also, now you mentioned earlier that you liked lifting weights and getting muscles on your body. One thing that's amazed me, and I look at, before you and I, Matt and I talked, I was looking at someone like a Jeff Saturday, who was also, I think, an all-pro center. Mm-hmm. And when I saw him after retirement, he was just slim and trim. And I see the same thing in you, Matt. Is there like a conscious effort after retirement to slim down, and I don't need to be as muscular anymore? I'm not facing 270-pound defensive linemen, so I can slim down. How do you explain that whole experience just to the average fan who's seeing this?
Definitely, definitely a concerted effort, but also like being 300 pounds was not natural for me. Right, I was way above took a lot of work to keep my body weight and body composition that way. So when I was done playing, it wasn't super difficult to lose the weight or a bunch of weight because it was just, that just wasn't, this isn't how I'm built. Now there's other guys who are built, their frames are just bigger. They're always going to be big guys. And so, they get done playing and they stay that size, or some of them even get bigger because they're not working out anymore and burning calories. But yeah, it wasn't like, I always tell people, don't give me too much credit for losing weight after football. It really wasn't that difficult for me.
Well, and before we came on, we talked about people being more than what they do for a living. So I want to give a round view here. But one curious thing I do have in that, I'm thinking about when I'm watching NFL, it's the trenches, man, where you big guys are going after each other. Just give us an idea, Matt, because I'm thinking, I don't care how big you are. You got to face Reggie White or, I don't know, whether Warren Sapp or some of them kind of guys. And I'm assuming, and I played a little football, that there was at least a game or two where someone was just beating up on you all game. But give our audience an idea of what it's like to be in the trenches against them big guys, man.
I mean, it's kind of hard for me to tell you what it's like because I don't know. It's just sort of what I did for so long.
Right.
I mean, it ain't easy. Like people always ask me, "Oh, who's the hardest guy you ever had to go against?" I said, "Well, nobody was easy.
Right.
There's never a day where you're like, oh, this is just going to be real easy." Even games, the rare occasion that we'd win a game by 30 points and really smoke the other team, I was still really sore Monday morning. It wasn't easy. It might look easy at times, but it's not. But what it's like down there, it really is. It really is when you are going against a D lineman, it is like both of you just straining with maximum effort for 4 or 5 seconds. Right. And, it's kind of like, right, pick your metaphor. It's like sumo wrestlers or, water buffaloes or whatever, leaning on each other. And it might not look like much, but if you are straining as hard as you possibly can, trying to push, it's the unstoppable force against the immovable object. And I don't know. I know it's weird. I know a lot of people, they don't get it. They don't watch linemen. But to me, it's like there's nothing more beautiful, more artistic than good O-line play. I coach O-line. I love it. I guess it's what I know. And very few people care or appreciate it. But to me, it's like, Lacy, you're a cultured man. It might be like going to the New York Ballet for you.
Yeah. Jazz at Lincoln Center or something
there
like
you go.
that.
Yeah, whatever.
But now I'm going to move on to some other things. But I do know what it's like when you're an offensive lineman and it's 3rd and 25, 3rd and 16, when the defensive line can just go all out, man. I'm like, I don't know how those guys stand up against that.
That's a bad situation to be in. You don't be in those. Sometimes you can't win. Sometimes you just 3rd and 16, get 5 yards and punt it away. That's life.
Yeah. And you made the Pro Bowl and was an All-Pro quite a few years. And I know in order for that to happen, you really have to stand out. I mean, there's a lot of great centers out there. And how would you explain the fact that you stood out so much? What did it have to do more with your preparation and the mental aspects? What made you such a special All-Pro center, Matt, in your mind? I know it's hard for you to come out and, like I say, being the humble guy you are, address some of it. But what made you the All-Pro that you were?
I think, it's a lot of it. Football's 99% preparation. You only play, in the NFL, you play 16 games a year. So that's 349 days a year. You're not playing a game, but you better be lifting weights. You better be eating right. You better be getting rest. You better be doing all these things. I think preparation's key. And then the other thing is just, it's a team game. You're really only as good as the guys next to you, first and foremost on the O-line. And then after that, it's a lot of it has to do with, the other guys on your team. Like, when Dante Culpepper's your quarterback and Randy Moss is your wide receiver, you're going to get some notoriety, right? I mean,
Yeah, I guess
people are
that's
probably
true.
going to think you're a little better than you are. But it was really those guys I played with on the O-line, and it was a team thing. And so, you do get some individual accolades, but because of that. But I don't think anything I did in my preparation was superhuman. I think I was just doing what I was supposed to do to give me and my team the best chance to be successful. And then because of a good process, some of those results came.
Okay. Being from Minnesota and understanding somewhat the history of the Vikings, you remember all the heartbreaks that we had, but this is where I'm going. Were you on that? And you brought up Randy Moss, and it reminded me that they had a 16-1 team with Randy Moss.
I was there.
You were there? You were there for that one?
That was our rookie year, yeah.
Oh, man. My wife it still breaks her heart, by the way.
I know, man. You say 1998 Minnesota Vikings fans, they kind of look down at the ground. Still feeling it.
I couldn't believe they lost that game. And my thing, a lot of things that people don't remember. I remember Robert Smith running out of bounds a couple of times and stopping the clock when I was like, so frustrated. And then I think you had Gary Anderson had missed a field goal all year. And
Lacy, come on, you're ripping open the scabs, man. You're ripping them open.
I don't want to send you off to a therapy session today, so I'm going to move on past that. So you won the Walter Payton Award, NFL Walter Payton Award, and that says someone who's out there doing more than just playing football. You're serving people and serving the community. Tell me a little bit about that award and how it made you feel about your work.
Yeah, well, again, when you're in the NFL, you have a platform, and listen, we talked about two great parents and a great community, but there was a lot of teachers and coaches and just people in the neighborhood who took an interest in me, who looked out for me. That's just kind of what you did back then. But the reason I was able to be successful was because a lot of other people, reached out to me to help. So just kind of raised, like, if you're in a position to help somebody, then why wouldn't you? And as an NFL player, I think that's pretty easy to do. So
okay.
To get recognized for it, when I grew up, Walter Payton was the guy. So it was a great honor to receive an award with his name on it. And again, I don't know, like it meant a lot. It's kind of silly to get an award for doing community service, but I just feel like most people, right? Like that's just what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So I guess I'm really proud of it and really honored to have that, especially when you look at the list of people who win that award. I guess once in a while they got to give it to an O-lineman, so I was a beneficiary of that. But it's good. It's a good reminder for me to try to always live up to that standard, and I always try to help out my fellow man.
Well, I met you a few times, and I just pick up on good spirits, and that good spirit came through your childhood, your faithful background, all that came through when I met you. And but now, after football, I understand you still had an interest in education, and you started up a private school, I think it was. Tell us about what motivated you there, and what was your goals and objectives when you did start up.
Yeah. My wife and I founded a Catholic high school in Burnsville, Minnesota. We're both Catholic school products. Feel like that blend of the faith and education is really, really important, especially considering today's world. I don't think you can keep them separate anymore. So, the South Metro down there in my opinion, needed a Catholic high school because there are a lot of Catholic grade schools down there. And so we were fortunate to find a facility, and our education model is a little bit different. We kind of don't like, I kind of feel like the education model, in generally speaking, we're not equipping kids for life. A lot of places are saying, "Oh, we're going to equip kids for college." Well, then what? What does college do? Equip them to become employees? Like, I look at it as we're all entrepreneurs of our own lives. And so we need to develop skills. These days, kids we need to cultivate these skills like resiliency, like being able to collaborate, being able to communicate. These are the things that our young people are lacking for whatever reason, and help them, because your life hasn't been a straight line. Mine hasn't been a straight line. You got to be able to adjust and figure out and problem solve and get along. So yeah, we did that 4 years ago, and it's been great. It's been fun to watch it grow. And like I said, we're not the school for everybody, but we're the school for somebody's. And I think that we just need more different types of schools, because there's so many different types of kids out there.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, and I think you hit a nail on the head there, education systems seem to be designed to prepare you for the job market, rather than to prepare you to be the best person you can be. I got lots of pet peeves about public education, but two of the fundamental ones is that they don't teach us about money management. They don't teach us about the law and the legalities. And if you think about it, your life and your money is probably two of the most important things in your life, and your financial well-being. So the public education has totally avoid those areas for whatever reason. And it's getting even worse nowadays. And I've been pretty much upfront with people that I'm not one of these critical race theory type people. I think it's a bunch of garbage, and it's really not giving us quality education. I'm from mostly a segregated education system, but we had great teachers, we had great leaders, we had a great culture that focused on us being the best we can be, and not the world, and not what happened to us 400 years ago. It's like, this is where you are, and let's just teach you to be the best person you can be. It's kind of like a card game. You play your hand the best you can. That's what you focus on. You don't worry about other people's hand. You don't complain about what they got and privileges and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that comment. Now, here's the thing, Matt. You got a great life going, NFL All-Pro, Harvard educated wife, great family. What in the heck were you thinking about going out into the public arena, starting expressing your ideas and things and getting involved in politics? Because as soon as you do, half the country's going to hate your guts, and there's going to be a campaign to paint you as the worst person in the world. But what in the heck were you thinking, Matt, when you decided to enter into politics?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just concerned about Minnesota. I think you look at the last few years, and you can be a Republican or a Democrat, but if you're happy with the way things have gone and with the direction they're going, then I would really question. I might question your intelligence. I mean, really, because our crime has gone through the roof. Half our kids in public school can't read or write. 70% of Black and Hispanic kids can't read or write at grade level, and we pay some of the highest taxes in the country. And I don't think that our leaders, who just quite frankly, most of them tend to be Democrats, really have a plan, or a plan for prosperity for the long term. I think they just are doing things and saying things and enacting things right now that sound good and help them stay in office. So, I didn't say, well, I want to go out and run for office, but I was trying to discern what am I supposed to do? What does God want me to do? And there's this guy Scott Jensen who I met, who I'm very impressed with personally, very impressed with professionally. And I thought, man, you know what? I think this guy can actually win, because he's not a career politician, and he has the courage to go out there and push ideas forward. And I'm big with courage. It's kind of one of my top things. And so when he asked me to join him, I said, sure, you're doing it. I can do it. And, it's here we are a month before the election, and, we're right there. We're right there. And so it's, Lacy, like I said, life ain't a straight line. It doesn't go how you plan it. This was never part of the plan. I was pretty comfortable before all this, but it's been amazing. And I've met a ton of people that otherwise I never would have met. I've been to places all over this state that I never would have been to. So win or lose, it's been a fantastic experience.
Right. Well, you sound like, and a lot of my audience know that I dabble in politics a little bit, and I was motivated by the same things. I've been here in Minnesota a long time. I came here in 1972 to go to the University of Minnesota, and just the spiral of the state and our city. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm like you. Are the voters seeing the same thing I'm seeing? I mean, and how does these guys keep getting reelected? I mean, and I'm just up front. I mean, I couldn't believe like what has happened to the Twin Cities and the metro area, Minneapolis, that the mayor got reelected. I mean, it's like what am
Yeah.
I looking for? But I'm always reminded of something my youngest son said to me once, and I intuitively knew it, and he just capsulized it for me. He said, "Dad, people care more about how you make them feel than what you do for them." And
That's true. That's true. And it's,
yeah, yeah,
it might be part of the reason how we got here
yeah,
as a country.
yeah,
Um, but, we'll see. It's an interesting time. It's always an interesting time to be alive, but this is an interesting time in America. And, be interesting to see what happens here in November of 2020, not just in Minnesota, but from coast to coast.
right. And you're like me too. You're concerned about some of the things that's going on, and if you don't have a spiritual foundation, you can easily feel hopeless about the trend and stuff. But since you have I have a spiritual foundation. I just have faith. God is still in control, and things going to turn out okay. I just remember you mentioned the culture guy. Read Paradise Lost by John Milton, and somewhere in there he talks about how God is going to give Satan a certain amount of free reign, but he could constantly frustrate him. And so that's what I see a lot of times, that in spite of their intentions, things don't quite turn out that way.
Mm.
So let's assume, well, when you win in November, you get in the office in January, let's say, what would be some of your uh, top priorities?
Yeah, we need to push forward school choice. It doesn't make any sense that we don't let kids and families go to whatever schools they want to, private or public. The money needs to follow the child, not the system. This whole thing, the whole goal is not to have a huge public school system. The goal is to educate kids. So whatever it takes to do that. I think you'll see that. I think you'll see voter ID passed. Make sure so everybody can feel good about our elections. You're going to see a huge initiative to recruit more police officers. It's going to be I'm hopeful, and we'll see what it looks like. But I'm hopeful. We have the governor's office, the Senate, and the House. And if we have those three things, we can move. We can move pretty quickly in getting things done and getting Minnesota back on track.
Yeah, the more you talk, the more I realize how much we have in common. I'm a big education guy too, and I know what a quality education looks like. I don't think we're going to ever achieve it here in Minnesota. I don't care how much money you give these folks, because their attitude and their perspective and everything is just all wrong. Their motivation. One of my pet peeves is the whole education achievement gap. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the main thing there, I call it the life achievement gap, and how they are just not educating our children, man. And one of the reasons is the way they think. They think it has to do with resources and money and class size, but it starts off with the way they think. And to be honest with you, the liberal way they approach our kids in our community, feeling sorry for them, looking at them as victims. And I have had a lot of success, I think, in changing these inner city kids' lives around in their education achievement goals. And one of the things is because I don't look at you as a victim. I look at
Mm-hmm.
you as just as capable as anybody else. And you find that absent in the Minneapolis school system, public education system. And I tell people also, there's some young males out there that the staff are basically afraid of. And you cannot discipline students that you're afraid of. And so those are the type of the fundamental things that I see that's some of the issues that money's not going to solve. And so I agree with you there as far as some of the things you're going to do. I'm a big supporter of vouchers. I think they need competition. As a conservative, I'm not a fan of government, and one of the reasons is they don't have any competition.
Right.
Uh, and one of the examples I like to give is that I think the Minneapolis House, public housing, has had a 5-year waiting list for housing for the last 2 or 3 decades, and nobody feeling the need to do anything about it. So I really appreciate the goals that you have. I appreciate the lifestyle that you've lived and the examples you've set, the achievements that you've had. I'm going to, out of respect for your time, try to get you off here because I know you got a lot of work to do. But I always like to inspire the youth in our audience about overcoming obstacles and your attitude and your values and things that you had to have to get where you're at. Tell me a story about maybe a couple of your biggest challenges in life, Matt, and how you overcame them, and how
Hmm.
just basically that foundation that we started out talking about as far as family and parents and faith and things, how that help you overcome those obstacles. That's a long compounded question, but a guy from Harvard, I think, was following me there.
Well, yeah, no, I would say, you know what, when I was actually in grade school, early in grade school, they thought I might have a learning disability. Um, and I just wasn't applying myself at all. And I remember a teacher came and he said, he doesn't have a learning disability. I think he's just lazy. And she kind of made me, she built that relationship, and then she made me do it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can. Not only it's like I can do this, but I want to do this. And I think the point I guess I'm making is everybody goes through stuff. Everybody goes through struggles, but the key is in life. And I still do this. I still have to remind myself in life. You think, okay, I got to figure this out. I think God put other people on this earth to help us figure things out. So don't be too proud. Don't be too bullheaded or stubborn. Have humility. And when you're trying to solve problems or you're going through something, lean on other people. And you think, well, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to. No, because I know when people are going through stuff and when they come to me, I find that to be a great honor and a great compliment. And like that's like the most important thing I could do today is help somebody get through something versus these pile of papers I got to get through on my desk. And so I guess to summarize, it's life's a team game. Have teammates, look for teammates, and be a good teammate.
That's a good way to end this. I will. It reminds me of a saying: if you want to go somewhere fast, go by yourself. If you want to go somewhere far, go with other people.
There you
And
go. There you go.
I totally agree with that. And just your personality of wanting to help people. And it's not always that you get rewarded for it. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite of it, but it's just your nature to help people. So I really understand that and appreciate that. Oh, by the way, one last thing that I read about you is that have you agreed to donate your brain to CTE study? Did I read
Yeah.
that
Well,
somewhere correctly?
yeah, I was the first active player to do that. I mean, the world's changed a lot in whatever 12 years it's been. But yeah, I love the game of football, and they're always trying to make it safer. I love the game of football because it taught me a lot, and I think it's a really useful and powerful institution, if you will, to help make boys into men. Because football, if you played football, you understand it's not really about the game. It's high school football. It's about it's about responsibility and toughness and accountability and being a teammate and all those things. So yeah, I said, shoot, there's just this outfit that was looking. They want to study players' brains to see what they can find out. I said, shoot, when I die, hopefully it's 100 years from now. If you want my brain, you can have it.
Just another continuation on your contribution to society. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time here, Matt. I want you to keep doing what you're doing. I'm not about to give you any advice because I think you got most of this stuff figured out, given
I
your
don't know about that.
background. Well, in a way, and I say it in a general term. I tell people when I left home at 17 years old, I thought I was prepared for anything the world had to offer, bring my way. And I just turned 68 on September 2nd. And that has been true. I was prepared for everything. And I feel the same way about you, basically, given your spiritual foundation and lesson you learned there. So appreciate everything you've done. Keep being you, keep being courageous, keep being strong. And I see you doing that. A lot of attacks going to come your way. But we need some people on the wall, man, and just doing the work.
Yeah.
And I look at you as one of those people. So keep up the great work. I hope to see you soon. And to our audience out here, Matt Birk, I hope you've seen what type of person he is, what type of heart he has, what type of soul he has, and judge people on the content of their character rather than other things. So, Matt, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Always great to talk to you, Lacey. Thanks
Okay.
for having
Thanks
me.
a lot. Okay. Bye bye.